Hello, my darlings, and welcome back to Radio Wasteland, your favorite show about the paranormal and other fun, freaky stuff. I'm your host, Chauncey Hallworth, and this is my co-host, Sean.
Hello.
How are you doing this week, Sean?
Pretty good. Just now when we heard on the news, President Vladimir Putin has launched, some program or another. My brain stopped listening at launched and immediately filled it in with, what I'm thinking. Right. Right.
Over.
I'm hearing Vladimir Putin has launched, 600 ICBMs and we've got, a half hour.
Every time I hear his name, I think of a meme that my buddy Joanna sent me that had a Ritz cracker with his face on it that said Putin on a Ritz. So, we have different
I feel like,
about this
for a guy who's essentially a brutal dictator, there's tons of, there's lots of just funny jokes and memes about him.
Totally.
To the point that he seems, friendly and approachable.
Yeah.
Even though, no.
Yeah, well, movies have prepared us for this. He is basically a Bond villain.
Yeah, he is.
And
he's not Stalin, though, so he's looking pretty good in comparison.
Yeah, but Stalin's not a Bond villain. Stalin's like a,
Stalin's a villain. Right.
Stalin's like Hitler with more of a mustache,
That's true.
Putin is fully he needs
He needs a cat that he can stroke.
Right, and a gray Montel Williams suit with no tie collar or something, and,
And a vast system of interstellar lasers.
Right, and sharks with freaking laser beams on their foreheads.
That is exactly right. And I'm certain that he has all of those things because, you have to go all the way.
Well, totally. I mean, if, what are you going to do?
If I was him.
Yeah, totally. I mean, if you're willing to starve your people in order to give yourself a bunch of money, you have to be willing to buy frivolous stuff. It's not like he's frugal.
Right.
Where he's just, I don't want to spend that money that I took from all those dead children. It's he's willing to spend
Oh, my God.
So a lot of these radio shows like us, they do this affiliate marketing where they, sell, beet juice and mattresses and stuff, right?
Uh-oh. Are we going there?
Yeah, I got one.
Oh, good.
So,
okay.
Sean, this weekend, I lost 5 pounds.
Okay. To, a British guy in a bet?
No.
All right, keep going.
To the norovirus.
Is this an advertisement for the norovirus?
Yes. Basically, we could start packaging up this norovirus, and, it could be the new weekend cleanse. You could lose 5 pounds in a weekend, and all you have to do is excrete uncontrollably from most of your orifices.
Right.
Yeah. It's absolutely terrible.
It's absolutely terrible. So that's a beta for the little catchphrase there.
No pain, no gain.
That's better.
Yeah. So as you can hear, my throat is scratchy.
I hadn't noticed.
Well, thanks for noticing. But it's because I vomited so much. And so here's part of my problem. I've always had a cast iron stomach.
Sure.
And my body, I don't throw up. I just don't. When I was a kid and a big drinker, no, I don't throw up.
Okay.
I was sick, hated it. And so now when my body's sick and my body says, oh, you're throwing up, my body still fights it. And it sounds like I am being murdered from rooms away. My wife was just all are you okay? As I'm just all it's just absolutely terrible sound. Terrible. And it leaves me with a messed up throat and my viscera feels like I've been beat with a lead pipe because of this internal fight of get it out, no, keep it in going on.
So this is just reminding me that we have got to do another show on pandemics at some point.
It really does because, any one of these things could really go out of control. I was thinking the whole time.
It's hard to get dudes from the CDC to come on programs where we talk to people who do poetry dictated by rocks psychically.
Right. Are you saying that this upsets our credibility with the CDC?
I mean, I'm saying it's a different kind of credibility.
Yeah, all right. I agree. Yeah. But, I was thinking that, that pandemics, that stuff is really, really quite scary,
Yeah, that and AI I really want to get into at some point because it's that's our future, dying of, nanoviruses and, being oppressed by our cyborg overlords. That's the future.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
AIs I would have never really sort of taken seriously as a threat until guys like Stephen Hawking and Elon Musk have come out and basically said that we need to take that serious.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, we're not there now.
But we might be.
I think we might be in my lifetime, definitely.
Well, look at Ghost in the Shell. Ghost in the Shell was the premise that it already existed on the internet, and we just didn't even know it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So, I mean, we might all die from our robot overlords who have given us some sort of pandemic virus.
Yeah, either way, we've just got a couple months left. So.
I guess I should give some good words on pandemics, and that is that
norovirus. Buy it today.
Yeah, $5. Hook me up, man. I hooked you up. Yeah, think of all the people that I hooked up before I knew I was sick, man. They owe me some money.
through our innovative viral marketing campaign, we're sharing this virus before we even know we have it.
But life in general wants to survive.
That's true.
And viruses and bacteria are no different.
Right.
So killing their host is not a very effective virus or bacteria.
In fact, most viruses and bacteria don't even need Prozac to want to survive. So they've got a huge advantage there, evolutionarily speaking.
Yeah, where you're saying that most humans do need Prozac to want to survive.
I'm not saying most. I'm saying 50-50 maybe.
Yeah, the statistics are going up, aren't they?
But literally 50% of people will be diagnosed with a mental disorder in their lifetime.
When I lived in...
That's the latest on that.
So we think of, like, religion as being, better control, more happiness, and stuff like that. And in many cases it is. I'm not coming down on this. But I lived in Utah, and I'm also not targeting Mormons. It's just a highly religious community.
Sure.
And at the time, their state had the highest per capita teenage pregnancy and the highest per capita people on prescription pills. And at the time, they actually had commercials on TV warning people to be careful not to get a head injury.
A head injury?
Yeah.
Sorry, what does that have to do with either of the other things?
I think it has to do with, like, stumbling around on pills, Well, getting a head injury.
Okay, I did not make that
Chasing
connection.
around your grandbabies on pills.
Well, I'm on a bunch of pills, but they don't, like, painkillers. They don't make me clumsy or affect my cognition in any way.
Well, they were also, there was a bit of a disparity there, too, because, like, their number one most wanted person in the state... I was watching on, like, the Utah's Most Wanted, and this guy had committed one assault and stolen a car. And he was the number one most wanted person in the state. And I'm just all like, holy smokes, Coming from California, that's like...
Yeah, Utah has got it figured out in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Can't come down on that. All right, this is Radio Wasteland, and when you come back, we have Larry Cekander talking about the Bob White Artifact and UFO Hard Evidence. He's the founder of the Museum of Unexplained Aerial Anomalies. So come on back. All right, welcome back to Radio Wasteland, and our guest, Larry Cekander. So, why don't we start off with the Museum of Unexplained Aerial Anomalies? How did you get started with that? And you were a partner with Bob White in that?
Right. Bob was a friend of mine. I met him back in the mid-'90s down here when I moved down here from Illinois to Reed Springs. And I knew him a couple of years and had seen Sam Friedman on History Channel talking about Roswell, and I went in the next morning. We ate breakfast every morning, telling Bob about, boy, heck of a show I seen there about UFOs, dead aliens, army cover-up, and he's sitting there shoveling food in his mouth like a payloader at a gravel plant. He says, oh, hell, that's nothing. I got a piece of one at the house. I was like, yeah, okay, Bob, you got a piece of UFO at your house? He said, yeah. He said, I keep it in my closet. I said, okay, well, I want to see this thing.
Right.
So I went over after breakfast, and he pulled this thing out of the closet. And the first time when I seen it, I'd never seen anything like it. I've been around metal work all my life, but I know what you can and can't do with metal, and you can't layer aluminum. That was the first giveaway on it.
Sorry, I'm not very familiar with
metal. From then on, we got involved trying to get some help to figure out what it was.
So when you say you can't layer aluminum, what does that mean exactly?
I mean, you can't. This piece of metal is layered. It's feathered, and aluminum will not feather. When it's in a molten condition and it hardens, it will always be rounded. This is layered.
I see.
And you can do it with steel, you can do it with iron, but you cannot do it in aluminum. No way, no how. And that's just fact.
And it couldn't have gotten that way like after it was cast. It's clearly
you can't cast this. You couldn't cast that if you tried.
Interesting. That's
So where did he say he found it?
It was recovered in Colorado, a mile from the Utah state line over Route 6.
And so was there any reason why he was looking there, or did he just find it on...
They was on their way to Las Vegas. He's a musician and entertainer. Had been in movie and television for 50 years, and he was opening a club in Denver, Colorado called the King Cole Club. And they weren't ready to open yet, so he got 3 days off, and they decided to go to Vegas, and he was out on Route 6, and they seen this light on the ground. And they kind of coasted up on it. And when they got close, he got out of the vehicle. The woman he was with was scared to death. She turned the headlights on and see that happen. This light took off, went into the sky, connected with two tubular neon lights stacked. There was a flash or an explosion. The light that he seen come back to where it all started on the ground, and the two tube lights took off and disappeared to the east. And he saw where the thing hit. He went down there and he seen the groove in the ground fall, and he found the object.
That's amazing. Was it like... Now, under those circumstances, I would expect an object like that would be, like, hot, like molten hot or something.
It was hot. It was still glowing. It was a dull red.
Interesting.
When he found it. He went back to the car. By the time he got back to where the object was, he picked up a cotton glove. He said he kicked it a couple of times, and those little green guys jumped out of it, so he picked it up, put it in the trunk of the car. He had it. That was 1985.
Wow. Yeah, I can't think. That's quite a mystery.
Yeah, so he didn't, to him it was just something crazy that he had. You guys didn't put much science into it until you came along?
Well, he had a 7th grade education.
I see.
You know, he'd been on his own since he was 13 years old. He didn't believe in UFOs. He didn't believe he went to the moon. You know, and UFOs was not on his radar screen at that time.
Sure.
And after he retired from music, he dug this thing out of the closet. He decided to see if he could find out what it was. And that's how we got started on this. And believe me, I'm sorry I ever got involved, because it's been nothing but a headache from day one.
You get a lot of pushback?
It's not the pushback. You can't get any help. They got the only piece of evidence in the world that's got the scientific testing behind it that shows it's off-Earth forms. I have documented science that says this thing was not formed on this planet. It was formed off of Earth in a vacuum environment in outer space. And a process was used to make it.
So
and I have the test results that show that.
So can aluminum be layered or feathered in zero gravity? Is that kind of what we're saying here?
Yes, it could.
Interesting. Wow.
That is great.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, that seems pretty solid to me. I am so surprised hearing you say this, that this isn't like, this much bigger news, frankly.
Yeah, this is a big part
like an
of
amazing find.
This is the big part of the UFO phenomenon that we're always missing, and that is concrete, physical proof.
Sounds like it's been here.
And they ignored us. The UFO community don't want nothing to do with us. Mainstream media is scared to death of us. That's because we got hard evidence. We have physical evidence of an object that was formed in outer space. A process was used to make it. It was formed for a reason, and it was returned back. The whole scenario starts on the ground, goes into outer space, and then comes back. It's in the same place it started.
Why do you feel that the UFO community pushes against this?
Because most of the people in the UFO community are full of crap.
Yeah, well, I think you might be right there.
Yeah.
I know I'm right.
Yeah, there's a lot of bucks to be had in there, and I think that there's a lot of people fall victim to that.
Well, you know, it's like I said, everybody, MUFON, that's a joke. They know about us. They've known about us for years. I've got a lot of friends that are researchers in MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network of people don't know what that stands for.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They're supposed to be the premier UFO research organization in the world. Yeah, right. You know, they got these TV shows on showing la stories. He said, she said, but no physical evidence, no proof. You know, I'm sitting here with 20 years worth of science. And ain't nothing I'm saying I can't prove with a piece of paper. From a scientist, a university or a laboratory. Nothing.
So
you know, and I defy anybody to show me another one of these objects and make it.
So is there no other objects out there that people are claiming are real?
Well, there's people that sit there that will try to show carbide tips from blast furnaces. They will show grindings from underneath grinding wheels and machine shops, stuff like that. There's only one problem with that. You cannot grind aluminum and make it melt. It's a soft metal. It will dust or powder every time. So that eliminates a machine shop right off the top. You can't make it in a machine shop. You can't cast it because it's too fine a detail. There's no process on our planet that will make this object that I know about, especially in 1985 when this thing was recovered.
And you've been studying this since then. So
I'm a metallurgist.
Yeah.
I've been in metal work all my life. I'm a hot rodder. Back in the 60s and 70s, you couldn't run down to the O'Reilly's and buy a part for an engine. You had to make it. You know, we made our own pistons. We did intake manifolds, and we were using aluminum. And I was in the outboard racing, and we built a lot of parts for outboards back in the day. And like I said, there's no way to feather aluminum. It had to be in a vacuum. It had to be extremely cold conditions to do this. It was ejected under extreme pressure into a vacuum environment.
So basically, when he presented this to you, you thought, okay, this looks like the real deal, and you just got caught up in it? Is that it?
No, I'll tell you. The first thing I thought was, how the heck was it made? How was this formed? And, like I said, I've been working metals all my life. And I thought about lost foam casting. I thought about plasma spray, possible a real fine cast ejection process of some sort with a silicone or something like that. But you can't get the detail in a casting that's in this object. It's impossible to do it. It's just that's the bottom line. It's impossible to cast this object. And if somebody made one already. And for 20 years, I've been saying, all you got to do to make me go away is make me one.
Right.
And you know what? There ain't nobody made me one yet.
All right.
Show me how to do it. Make me one.
Larry, we're coming up on our first commercial break here. When we come back, I want to ask you some of the tests that you put this thing through that gives you the scientific backup. You're listening to Larry Cekander here on Radio Wasteland, talking about the Bob White Artifact. Come on back.
Monday morning feels so bad. You got me shivering.
All right, welcome back to Radio Wasteland and our guest, Larry Cekander. Larry, before we get started with some of the science behind this, could you describe the artifact to us?
Describe it?
Yeah, please.
It's about 9 inches long now, about 2.5 inches at its base where it's been cut. The bottom was cut off at Los Alamos. The top we cut off for tests for National Discovery Science. It's layered or feathered like a pine cone.
I see. Interesting.
Basically, the description would be about the simplest description, or pin feathers on a chicken leg or a turkey leg.
I see what you mean.
Something like that. And it's mostly aluminum. It has 33 elements identified it besides aluminum, and not one of the elements that comes from a grinding wheel. Like I said, people to see this, the first thing they say is, well, that came from a machine shop. If it came from a machine shop, they would have found residue from the machine shop in the artifact itself when they did the testing on it. And there's nothing from a machine shop been found in it.
So what kind of testing did you put this thing through?
Well, it's been scanned electron microscope. It's had Pixie tests done. It's had X-ray diffraction tests done.
Well, hang on a second. An electron microscope. What does that mean for us?
Well, and it breaks down the elements in the metal, the matrix.
I see. So that's why you know that there's aluminum and 30 some odd other.
33 other elements besides the main element, which is aluminum. The elements in the object are gold, silver, arsenic, oxygen, aluminum, iron, silicon, calcium, barium, boron, cadmium, cobalt, copper, chlorine, chromium, europium, gadolinium, gallium, manganese, magnesium, zinc, molybdenum, nickel, sulfur, phosphorus, potassium, sodium, strontium, titanium, yttrium, vanadium, vanadium, zirconium.
So let me ask you this. So when we make something here on Earth, let's take everything else out of this equation. When we make something here on Earth, do we make it with that many materials in it?
No. Not a little silicon alloy we don't. The most we'd ever use would be maybe 15. A normal alloy, aluminum, silicone combination would have around 9 elements in it. One of the main elements in any aluminum silicone is tin. There's no tin identified by the object.
So what are some of the other tests run on here?
X-ray diffraction tests were done at Los Alamos.
Yeah, what is the X-ray diffraction test?
Well, that's again that breaks down more as far as elements in the object.
I see. So that was clarification.
And it gives you peaks as far as where the major elements are. Now, there were 3 X-ray diffraction tests done up to the 4th one, which was just done in 2015. In 2009, we had an X-ray diffraction test done. We snuck in the back door at MSU at Springfield, Missouri State University, and a scientist by the name of David Lamb did the X-ray diffraction test for us. Mm-hmm. And they had the latest machine that you could buy at the time in their lab. They set it up. He had no idea what he was testing. And about 3 months into the test, he noticed what they called an amorphous peak. Now, an amorphous peak is a polycrystalline structure that you never find in aluminum. We're barely using it, just getting to the point now that it's used in metalwork. And now, Los Alamos did an X-ray diffraction test back in the 90s, and so did National Discovery Science, also back in the 90s. And lo and behold, in their X-ray diffraction test, that same thing was located at the same position as David Lamb's test in MSU. And they failed to mention that in their reports. In other words, they covered that fact up.
And what would the purpose of this be? If I had to guess, I would say that it adds strength, like tensile strength to it or something.
Well, tensile strength, it's a polycrystal like a glass. It would improve the durability of the aluminum. It has raised we believe it has raised the melting temperature of the aluminum. It's a little bit higher than what a normal aluminum melts at. We don't know what this thing is. That's the bottom line. Well, I'll be the first one to say I have absolutely no idea what this thing is, what it be used for, and who made it. Is it alien? I can't say that. Is it ours? I can't say that. But whoever made this made it outside of Earth's atmosphere in 1985.
Right. Using extremely
that was made in
material
1985 and recovered then, and it's got all this stuff that we're finding that we found the last 20 years. Who did it?
That's right.
Who made it?
So
how did they make it?
I guess obvious question would be, have you gotten any government involvement? I mean, has there been anybody who contacted you or anything about this in the sense, or are they just trying to forget about it?
Well, we were in Los Alamos in '97, inside Los Alamos. Bob was. And that was one of the major tests, the first major test done. And that's where they cut the end off of it. Los Alamos stole the large piece of the object and kept it. I can prove that by the Polaroid pictures of the end of the object. When you go to match the piece that they cut off, I got part of the piece back, but the bottom doesn't match the big object. There's about an eighth of an inch missing.
So they what, just did these tests and said, see ya, this is ours now? What?
Is what now?
So they did these tests and said, okay, bye, this is ours now? That?
No. They snatched it. Bob got the main half of the main bottom piece back, and he had the main artifact with him. He carried in and took it back out. Now, I don't know what Los Alamos had in mind, other than the fact they were very interested in the bottom of the object. The bottom of this object has exposed X-ray film in distinct patterns from the base of it. A normal X-ray doesn't do that. It will scatter. This is like a laser point on each side of the object. All this is up on my Penrest website. Be Penrest at Larry Roy C. or Larry Cekander, either one. People want to look at the stuff that I've got.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's got the main elements. It shows the X-ray diffraction test. It shows the exposures, the elements identified in it, and the scientific papers are also up too. But it's like I said, I'm the first one to tell you, I got no idea what the thing is.
Well,
is it a fuel cell? Is it a location device that sends out a signal you can read with an EMF meter into distinct frequencies? Never seen a Briggs and Stratton do that before.
So, okay, that seems like a fairly major piece of information. How does it do this? I mean, it's a piece of metal. What?
Yeah, it is.
It's not a machine. I mean, how does it send out a signal?
Combination of the elements.
Wow.
Everything on our planet, just about everything on our planet, puts out a signature of some sort, electrical magnetic frequency.
Right.
Your body, computer, your phone. Now, if you use certain combinations of metals, will cause what's known as electrolysis.
Interesting.
Now, electrolysis is a current. And you can read that with an EMF meter. Normally, here's a perfect example of electrolysis is if you have a boat motor or a boat sitting in the salt water. The electrolysis in salt water will try to eat the iron. So they put a zinc anode on the hull, and it eats up the zinc instead of the hull of the boat or the lower unit on your engine. That's electrolysis.
I see. And so this is putting out two frequencies, you're saying?
Mm-hmm. Two of them. One at around 14 megahertz. The other one we can't read because my machine won't go that high.
Huh. And I assume that's unusual for a piece of metal, because it seems like pretty much everything else about
Briggs and Stratton do that.
Yeah. Wow.
All right, Larry, this is totally interesting. We're coming up on our next commercial break. Please stick around for Larry Cekander. We're talking about the Bob White artifact here on Radio Wasteland. All right, welcome back to Radio Wasteland and our guest, Larry Cekander. Larry, my question that I've been saving towards the end of our interview, but I'm guessing that you're going to say, I don't know, is what do we think this thing was for?
What do we think it is?
Yeah, has anybody given us any speculation on what we think it was used for?
Not really. I mean, I got a couple guesses, or I got a couple ideas. It might be a power cell of some sort that it was ejected or there's a location device that sends out a signal.
Mm-hmm.
What would make you think it was a power cell?
Do what?
What made you think it would be a power cell?
Well, it was ejected from something. Now, a catastrophic event took place that formed this object. The reason I know that is you smell this object, you smell sulfur in it. And the main ingredient in gunpowder is sulfur, or an explosives. And you can, after all these years, you can still smell the sulfur in this object. And that's my guess, that there was something catastrophic happened between the object on the ground and the object in the air.
Yeah, and
Bob
given its
never
location,
saw a machine. He saw a light.
Given its location, I guess it wouldn't be shocking if some sort of ground-based military maybe shot at it.
Maybe, but there would have been a rocket deal of some sort.
Yeah, I guess so.
There would have been he would have seen a telltale of some sort. Bob passed 4 polygraphs as to what he saw that night and what he's been told about that object. Now, I know out there somebody, well, anybody can take a polygraph test. Try it. You know, and he took 4 of them, given by police officers over the years, and no hint of a lie was ever detected in anything that he did those tests. Yeah.
It doesn't sound like he had much reason to lie in any case. As you said, he wasn't really into UFOs. Yeah.
People think that there's money in this. Now, that's what I thought. Man, I had visions of me sitting on the beach in Tahiti after I heard this story, and
that's not where you're calling from.
Skirts walked by and me drinking tequila sunriser.
That's not where you're calling from, Larry.
No, I'm sitting in the middle of the woods in an add-on trailer, driving a 1997 GMC pickup truck with a couple of customized dents in it.
So you're close.
Not exactly. Hit the lottery, if you know what I'm saying.
I do, yeah. There isn't, there isn't the money in this stuff that people would think that there would be, unless you're one of those people who really sort of take it to a level where you're fabricating answers when you're giving people answers.
Well, yeah, that's the whole thing. What we're saying and what we have said from day one is we want to know what it is. I still want to know what it is. I want to know how it was made. That's my main thing. I want to know what it was made for and how it was made. Those are my questions.
Yeah, well, it definitely seemed that Los Alamos' interest and desire to keep a chunk of it leads me to believe that it wasn't made by the military.
Yeah.
No, I don't think the military made it at all.
Yeah.
I think personally, my belief was that it's alien. But I can't say that. I can't prove that. Right. I can't think of nothing that we had flying in 1985 in outer space that had a machine shop in it.
Are there any other? Oh, I'm sorry. Are there any other tests that you've been wanting to subject this thing to that might shed more answers?
I want to do an isotope abundance ratio test on chromium, 53 and 54.
And
it's called wet chemistry, and what you have to do is you have to take a sample of the object and separate the chromium from all the other elements in the object, and then do the test on the chromium. And that will tell you whether it is extraterrestrial or terrestrial. It's either you're pregnant or you ain't.
How will it tell us that? I mean, how would we know?
Because the isotopes of the chromium 53 and 54 are different in outer space, or off Earth, than they are on Earth. It's simple.
Huh.
I've already got extraterrestrial reading in the object already. We had strontium reading. We had a test done in Scripps in all around 2000, I think it was, somewhere. I've been at this so long now, this all kind of runs together.
Right.
Yeah.
But let me find what he said here. And that's where'd it go?
Well, that's all right. While you look for it, do you think that clarification of it being made off planet doesn't necessarily mean it was made by alien, but
that's true.
Do you think clarification that it was made off planet will get the UFO community to maybe take the object a little more seriously?
I doubt it. To be very honest about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, they've known about us for quite a few years.
And so have none come to you and basically said, we want to learn more about this?
No, nobody has come to us. You know, everybody in the UFO community knows about us. I guarantee you that. You know, because we've been around that long now. And like I say, they ignore us like the plague.
Yeah, the only other possible alien artifact that I know of is somebody's rock. I forget whose name it is, but there's supposedly a rock that is manufactured, but we can't figure out how it was manufactured. And they've actually chunked a chip off of it. But it's really kind of amazing to me that there is so few chunks. That either tells me that we've been visited very few times, that these things aren't going on, or that the government is very good about snatching these things up.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I honestly don't understand why nobody hasn't come with some bucks to sit there and really try and look into this object. But like I said, that nobody's volunteered any help. Everything we've done, we've had to scrape or scrap together. It's just, it really ticks me off, to be honest about it. I'm sitting here with something that belongs to the world, and nobody wants to sit there and find out what it is. You know, and that's amazing to me. That's just absolutely amazing to me, that you can have all this evidence and science behind this object, and nobody's interested.
So, when you say that all these tests have been done, do you have the paperwork proof that these tests have been done? So if somebody else,
I can't back up with a piece of paper from a scientist.
So if somebody did come in and said, "Hey, we want to look at this more. Let's see how far we've gotten," you could provide them with the information of how far you've gotten in the testing.
I did that to a MUFON scientist back in 2009. We were on the History Channel. I don't know if you're familiar with John Greenwald or not, but he's a good friend of mine. He owns the Black Vaults, and he's a Freedom of Information Act connoisseur. He snatched more government documents out of the archives in Royston than about anybody out there.
Yeah,
he snatched up a document that shows an object recovered in Denmark in 1947, prior to Roswell, that looks exactly like the Bob White artifact.
Whoa, really?
I mean, exactly. To right down to the point. Whatever process was used in 1947 was used in 1985.
Wow.
I've connected this case with five cases now. There's a Benny Foggins case in Ohio. There's Skyfall Aluminum. Got 43 elements in his. A strontium reading off Earth. I have a strontium reading on Bob White object that's off Earth, matches Mars meteorites, falls between two known Mars meteorites. That was done at Scripps Institute in California, whilst I was down in San Diego.
Larry, I got to tell you, this is all really just quite amazing. Unfortunately, we're coming up on the interview here. I want to give you a chance to tell our audience a little bit where they can find out a little bit more and maybe see this artifact and find out more about you.
Okay, Facebook probably the easiest. My old website, they finally took it down. They closed up. But you can find me, Larry Cekander, at Facebook, Museum of the Unexplained Aerial Anomalies Research Group, or UFO Hard Evidence, all at Facebook. And that's got all the information. It's got videos and other stuff up there to go with my Pinterest site that I already gave to y'all. So like I said, I'll be the first one to tell you, I got no idea what it is.
Yeah.
I got no idea how it was made, and nobody else does either.
Well, I'm looking forward to...
I defy anybody out there to think that they see the picture of this thing, so I can make that in my garage. Well, go for it, buddy.
Yeah, we
I
need to get
guarantee
that
you'll never
challenge
show
out
me a
there.
piece
Yeah.
of anything like this.
We need to get some
Made
of
of
our
aluminum.
ufologist listeners to take a look at this thing.
Take that challenge. All right,
Yeah.
you've been listening to Larry Cekander here on Radio Wasteland from talking about the Bob White Artifact and UFO Hard Evidence and the Museum of Unexplained Aerial Anomalies. Don't forget to check him out online. You've been listening to Radio Wasteland.
They can't knock on my door unless they want to borrow something all the time.
All right, welcome back to Radio Wasteland. We've been talking to Larry Cekander about the Bob White Artifact. For those of you who don't know what the Bob White Artifact is, it is something that Bob White found.
Yeah, listen to the show we just did. That'll tell you.
And he basically was driving around in his RV in between gigs and saw something in the sky and picked this hot object up off the ground. And they've run a bunch of tests on it. So, what do you think of this thing?
I think I don't know what it is either. It's hard to come up with a natural explanation that he didn't knock down, frankly. We've got, it's got a chemical makeup that is bizarre for a man-made object. It doesn't have any traces of man-made machining. It's apparently the aluminum is feathered in a way that would be impossible to do except in zero gravity. It's producing signals somehow. So this seems like just something that is totally bizarre all around. And frankly, I am shocked that there isn't more discussion of this thing. I feel like there's got to be something I'm missing to understand that bit.
Yeah, well, why the UFO community pushback? Or,
I would
or blackout,
think,
more like.
I would think that they would love this. So there must be something, somewhat controversial about these findings. But, I mean, from hearing Larry Cekander talk, I have no idea what that could be. It sounds pretty ironclad to me.
Yeah, I figure sometimes there's personality conflicts, but Larry seemed as
and
personable
those do
as...
seem to be pretty rife in the UFO community.
Yeah, especially here recently. But a lot of them seem to be... more so between the people who feel that they have answers and the people that feel that they don't.
Right.
Those seem to be the two camps of argument.
Well, one thing's for sure, I certainly do want to find more out about this thing.
Yeah, I was thinking that that this thing needs a Kickstarter campaign.
Yeah, absolutely. He's talking about these other tests that he wants to do, and it's like,
yeah, and
it doesn't seem impossible to me. Why not?
And, earlier in the show, I was talking about watching some episode with Giorgio Tsoukalos about, I say the last name weird because I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, so you got to throw it in there.
Yeah. But then you just called attention to it and made the whole thing worse.
What are you going to do?
Yeah.
About this rock, and part of the problem with this rock is this guy only let a little chip come off of it in order for people to test it. But Larry, with this Bob White artifact, seems willing to let this thing be cut up to get some answers.
Absolutely. I mean, right now it's just a paperweight, really. He's not using it for anything.
Which a lot of people, who have these things and claim these things are not willing to let that happen.
Exactly. Even the famous Roswell wreckage is supposedly locked away in an Air Force base somewhere.
Right.
This thing is, although apparently the Air Force or military or whatever does have a chunk of it, is sitting in a guy's house.
Right.
It in terms of the broader UFO community, this seems like the most accessible you can possibly get. So, again, that just, I don't know. It's very bizarre that this thing isn't more widely known about.
Yeah, and the array of tests that he's had run on it, basically a lot of them are chemical compound tests.
Right, electron microscope tests, X-ray diffraction tests you talked about.
And so a lot of that, may seem redundant, but it's backing up the results of the others.
Right.
So
that's what you've got to do. You've got to do multiple tests in order to confirm.
What I would like to see Larry do is get together a packet of this paperwork of proof and get that up on his site where you can download it in maybe a PDF format.
Yeah.
So that the UFO researchers can quickly and easily get their hands on that proof and start to see, well, maybe yes and maybe no, Maybe that's something we can help Larry with. I don't know.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem like a tall order.
Yeah. Yeah, I absolutely agree. And then, of course, we've got the bombshell that was dropped right at the end of the show there, that apparently there is some, paperwork showing evidence of another object exactly like this that showed up in Europe in the 40s.
Right.
And that's like...
that seems like a cincher.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That is crazy.
And I'm not saying crazy like, that's unbelievable. I'm saying crazy like, wow, if that is true, then that is...
Right. If it doesn't end up being part of some Dutch toy called a Furfengloben or something that none of us have heard of, that's going to be really
that they were
weird.
making in zero gravity in the 40s.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's just hard to imagine what it could be beyond alien artifact of some kind.
Right. So we want to know what you think. Take a look at his website. Take a look at his stuff. We're going to try to get that paperwork together. I want to get that paperwork together so that people can see.
Yeah.
And maybe you can tell us about it. You've been listening to Radio Wasteland. Come on back. All right, welcome back to Radio Wasteland, and we got some news here, Sean.
We do. It has again been kind of a slow week for paranormal topics, so I decided to dive into something more on the conspiracy side of things.
All right.
Specifically, it was a very interesting story I originally heard on NPR and then tracked it a little deeper about basically a person who was studying how conspiracy theories propagate online. So what he did was he invented his own conspiracy theory. He created his own documentary about how, the CIA was responsible for basically a chemical leak that caused a huge number of deaths in Africa.
Okay.
Now, this is completely false.
Right.
He made up all the facts, but it was a well-produced documentary. And so he put this online and just sort of, waited. And as one would expect, it was shared all over the internet with zero verification. So that's the first part of the story here is, he wanted to see what happens as this thing spreads throughout the internet. And indeed, there's tons of people who are just waiting to jump on this thing. Second part of it was he gathered up students in university settings, and he showed them this thing to assess their reaction to it. And in general, there was no reason to disbelieve it. Here's a professor standing before them telling them that all this stuff happened. What are they going to say? Oh, you're a liar?
Right.
So, all in all, it's kind of scary stuff. And it just shows that that our first instinct is not always to jump for verification. In fact, it rarely is. So when you have a story like this, we tend to just, go with the context. Does it decide I trust? Then sure, it's probably true.
Well, I think that's kind of one of my big disappointments in this world is that so many people are out there wanting to not trust us. I mean, not tell us the truth. There's so many motivations. Actually, there's really only one motivation to not tell us the truth normally.
Money?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just making sure
money
I was
/ power.
On the same
Sometimes
page.
sex, but normally that's not focused at me.
Right. I feel like those are all kind of in the same area.
I think my wife might tell me that throughout her life, a lot of people have lied to her for that purpose.
Sure.
But this whole fake news thing, it's like, that is really interesting because this fake news thing is just out of control. I mean, part of me is happy that light has been brought to the need of verification, but it doesn't seem like we're doing a lot in the ways of verifying.
Well, so what this person was saying was that it needs to be part of our ethos to not believe what we read, no matter where it is at this point, and to, do some additional checking. whether that be, look it up on Snopes or see if another outlet is reporting this, that kind of thing, to just cross-verification.
Right.
Even something as little as that would, for instance, have easily debunked this guy's story.
Right.
So he's basically saying, we need to stop treating news in the era of internet like we treated news in the era of 3 big news networks.
Right, but he's also saying that we need to treat our professors that way.
Yeah.
Because he was presenting this as a professor to his students.
Absolutely.
And included that in his message,
Yeah, so, I guess don't trust anything that one person tells you.
Yeah, but that's going to hold us back rather drastically when it comes to evolving our global knowledge.
But you know what they say, measure twice, cut once, and all that kind of thing. It also holds us back if we, as a people, run willy-nilly down every rabbit hole that presents itself. And
I guess
pokes our right emotional buttons.
Right.
I mean, this whole fake news thing, as I understand it, the concept originally applied to people, oftentimes, non-Americans, like in Eastern Europe, that kind of thing, who...
Bond villains?
Bond villains, essentially.
Yeah, right,
but like low-rent Bond villains.
Right.
Who would basically look at an American news site and just copy it. Mm-hmm. And, they would just say, okay, this is CBS, and the domain would be something like cbs.me or something that looks kind of legit. Mm-hmm. And it would just be full of headlines that were incendiary. And then, not really any articles. Like, they were just sort of broken English articles, but the headlines were designed to capture people who had political biases and were designed to be shared a lot. And during the 2016 election, there was basically no discrimination towards, what kind of articles people are writing. They're just trying to make people mad so that they can get shares, so that they can convert that into money. In some cases, there was a partisan agenda, but in many cases, it was literally just some guy trying to put food on the table and exploiting stupid Americans who don't check their sources on Facebook, frankly. So I think that needs to be part of our ethos. It just drives me crazy when I see people posting like fake Albert Einstein quotes on Facebook.
Oh, yeah.
That's one of my biggest pet peeves because those are so easy to spot.
After us here on our radio station that we air on KCNR AM 1460 out of Reading. Mm-hmm. After us comes on a national show, which is the Dana Show.
Sure.
And I listened to this radio station, and I was listening to the Dana Show the other night, and she was talking about, she was reading some article and making fun of the person who wrote the article. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of these conservative shows can be
acerbic.
Yeah, kind of mean-spirited. And she was basically, this article was a girl talking about how the Marvel movies are sexist because none of the women wear their hair in ponytails. They all wear their hair down.
Okay.
And so as they're fighting, they have this long sexy hair and that they look sexy, and that's sexist.
Okay.
So here's this woman writing an article, obvious clickbait, to get people to talk about hairdos.
Right.
And then here's Dana on the Dana Show mocking this article, basically creating obvious clickbait out of this obvious clickbait and spinning it with a conservative agenda about how this is non-sexist sexism and how stupid these people are, and about how all these liberals are talking about ponytails in Marvel movies when they're obviously not. This was a bit of clickbait, and she spun that into clickbait. Now, I didn't follow it any further, but I'm sure that some liberal picked that one up and basically said, hey, look how...
a takedown of the Dana Show.
Look how stupid Dana is, right. And that there is this just long chain of
just people getting outraged
money.
So that, yeah, absolutely. And I think that's really what a lot of the news we consume is. Yeah. Because we like the French fries and not the vegetables.
Well, I think the number one downfall of our country right now is this dichotomy that social media and the internet is giving us, because it is serving up what you already know.
Yeah, and no one even believes what they're writing. They're just
Right.
trying to make money.
And I personally, I chase what I don't know. And I know I could say on this show, oh, obviously, like I'm a researcher. I'm not a researcher. Our show is entertainment.
Yeah.
We like getting a guest on. We like finding out about it and reading it. We're entertained by this. And I really want to know more. But I'm not one of these hardcore researchers like the guests that we have on. I'm not one of these guys.
Yeah.
And I would think it would be an insult to them to put myself in that category.
Yeah. But curiosity is a virtue.
Yeah, but I listen to radio that I don't agree with, and I watch news that I don't necessarily agree with because I want to know. I want to know what's out there, and I want to know things that I don't know, and I want to broaden my mind. College used to have nothing to do with the job. College used to be solely for a worldly education. Basically, rich people sent their kids to college so that they could get a view of the world before they basically went off and worked, and that was it.
Yeah. No, that's true.
And really, I say good. Let's go back to that.
Well, yeah, nowadays college is semi-effective job training.
Right.
So-
Yeah, I guess we're coming full circle on that one.
Yeah.
All right. So I guess the question is, fake news, fake or not? Question mark. And is college really worth it? All right. You're listening to Radio Wasteland. Thanks for checking us out.
Hate to see you hungry, love to see you starve. I hate to see you smiling at me like you used to. Wanna meet the stars, I hate to hear you want me, hate to hear I do. I hate to have you holding my hand as I hate standing next to you, but I can't control myself. I can't control myself. I can't control myself like you used to do. I can't control myself. I can't control myself. I can't control myself like you used to do. I hate to hear I love you. I hate to say it too. I'd hate to walk on up to your house just to see you. I hate to hear your voice on the telephone crying, baby, I can't live without you. Chance, please come home, but I can't control myself. I can't control myself. I can't control myself like you used to do. I can't control myself. I can't control myself. I can't control myself like you used to do. I hate to see them off. I'd hate to see the shimmer of your skin in the bathtub while we talked. I'd hate to be in your bed. I hate to have our box. I'd hate to hold you till 3 a.m. Smelling your blonde locks. Hate to see you happy. Hate to see you sad when you're looking at me. Seeing me as dad. I hate the beauty in your face. I hate the beauty in you. I'd hate for us to tell each other we're